Hello, Maheen. Thank you so much for your
I
time today. You've had quite a busy schedule last week, and I'm so glad that you made it for us here at All In Recruitment. So, a very warm welcome to you, and we are excited to have you.
brilliant. I'm excited to be here, honestly.
So, Maheen, we were just talking before the show about your vast experience, and you have been in the recruitment field across different roles for a good fifteen years now.
Yes,
And
this
yours is a very impressive profile of growth in the field, I must say. You served in house early in your career and then you moved on and specialized in talent acquisition, employee engagement, talent mobility, and also coaching. And today you are the director of talent acquisition, HR, and employment solutions at Mushawar UK. So, Mahid, walk us through your journey in your own words and maybe tell us what has kept you in the talent space.
I think I've always recognized myself as someone who thrives on interaction.
Mm.
Um, I'm an introvert, but very early on, I realized that as long as I push myself, I do enjoy people and I like learning from experiences. So it's been 15 years. I started off as an HR generalist in the oil and gas industry, and very soon realized that if I want to excel in my career, I want to go somewhere which is new but has a great potential to grow and challenge me. The information technology industry, and I realized this sounds like something that's going to be challenging and innovative, and it's something that's just starting off. So I want to be a part of it. Worked for a Dubai-based company. Um, uh, you know, there I got the opportunity to work with diverse markets: China, Latin America, Africa, Middle East, South Asia, and it sort of introduced me to technology hiring.
Mm.
Um, and I realized that technology hiring comes with the requirement was to reach out to people, tell them how your brand was different and how new technology and new skill sets were you going to offer them. So I've seen that in technology industry, if you're pitching people for a role, they want to know where they're going to go next and how they're going to improve on their technical stack. And if they feel like a product or a technology skill set or a project is quite redundant in terms of what tech skills they would need, they're not going to join you. I started working for one of the top IT names in Pakistan, and that I think was another big break because I got the opportunity to not only introduce HR metrics and HR frameworks and structure that I learned from a very structured framework industry like the oil and gas sector, and introduce that kind of structure or organization to an industry that had no organization and was just in the start of building themselves, right? Then I started my own agency, started myself, had no assistance. It's been about 7 years now. I've not looked back. I am now working in two geographies. I have two entities, two teams working with me remotely. It's fun, it's exciting. We look after the North American, Europe, and UK markets. We look after Middle East, South Asia, Asia Pacific markets, and I can tell you they are very different markets and very different hiring needs come from these markets.
So I like how you've really honed your skills in those high growth industries, and you've looked into maybe even sharpening these processes and and
Mm.
and taken it with you to start your own agency. And now you're addressing these issues in a very interesting time for recruitment and
It
also
is.
for the economy. And
Yeah.
Mushawar is the name of your agency, and you also offer services in HR policy, process, and you also have career development solutions. So I'm curious, you've worked for 15 years. So what might be the key shifts in policies that HR leaders must be more attentive to? And are there any specific pillars given the disruptions we've seen in the past 2 years?
Well, I'll tell you, before COVID, we were talking about making HR policies more inclusive,
Hmm.
uh,
In-
acknowledging that there's a more diverse workforce and that this workforce requires different types of values to be attracted, and recognizing those values, understanding those values, and inculcating those values in your processes. It's become it's a great time because you're acknowledging a lot of people, but it's also very difficult time for people in the legal industry and in HR industry and the management side of things to really overcome these challenges of I know that a lot of my colleagues are still working on discovering what gender neutrality means, and how do you address those in processes, how to different kind of family units to be addressed to, how do as small a thing as you just don't only manage maternity leaves when someone is having a baby of their own. What if they adopt someone, because you have now um, different kind of family units happening. So small things like leaves for maternity or adoption for different kinds of diverse people within this sphere, um, to the fact that now we have to acknowledge the fact that COVID happened and remote working is a problem and is also an opportunity.
So that's a very interesting thing, remote working. The inspiration for that is looking at the Netherlands and how they're looking to introduce that into their law to make remote working a right.
It's right.
Yeah.
It's right. It's
So
absolutely.
what might be, I mean, if this really does shift that way, because if one country does it, then it's likely that other frameworks will also follow in different places. So what might be some of these kinds of shifts that you will expect to see?
We've been saying this pre-COVID, but post-COVID, during COVID, I have been someone who's been talking about this very regularly to my clients and generally to people, that you have to get used to it. You have to make your systems capable of managing remote employees. Um, and you have to come up with ways of engaging your employees even if they're working remotely. A lot of my HR fraternities, and maybe not HR, but basically business heads don't agree that if you're working remotely, you can engage your employees and retain them. That's not true. That is not true. People with families and responsibilities at home will tell you that they are so much better off working hybrid models and remotely. And they are working twice as hard, doing a lot better, and there is less wastage of time. So you have to understand that remote working is here to stay, and it is something that you have to get used to. You will have to make policies. You'll have to make performance metrics. You'll have to create trackers if you need to make sure that you're in touch with your employees and they are able to deliver what you need. So better communication about performance metrics. What are the benchmarks they need to achieve, their targets? So clarity on that. So employee communication needs to be a lot more clearer, less vague. Your policy documents should not require an employee to reach out to a legal counterpart to interpret what you're saying. Your contracts should be easily communicated to your employees. They should not require assistance to understand what kind of clauses they're signing on to, right? And you need to understand that employees are saving not just money but time when they are not 5 days a week traveling to an office space. They're saving time. They can start at 9, they can start at 8. They just need half an hour a lead to start. The possibility of going on breaks is lesser. I'm not saying that completely kills the point of working in one-on-one in person as well. People would love to come and meet people time and again, but remote working is here to stay. Everything is becoming digital, so you can't say remote working is not possible. If you're saying that remote working is not something your company is interested in, you're going to be without talent very soon.
One of your services is also recruitment services for the technology industry. Tech recruitment is obviously the area that's quickly taking space in all the playbooks in recruitment, and the competition is fierce. I mean, this is common knowledge. So, what might be some observations you've made in this field in the past 2 years?
It's a very different perspective when you're hiring someone from who's a programmer, and when you're hiring someone in the CXO role. Their priorities are very different.
Yeah.
I've realized that Your pitches need to be very different. You're talking on a very different platform, and your pitch is completely different when you're pitching to these two different types of people. When you're pitching to CXO roles, you're talking to them um, about the vision,
Mm.
and you're giving them numbers, stats, uh, factual information. You can't sell them dreams only. They're more experienced by that time. So you can't sell them just dreams and be like, come on, hop on board. Junior employees are dreamers because they've not reached their ultimate goals. They still got milestones, and when you dream, you can dream big, right? But CXO roles, people, they've already seen a lot of the world, and they've all achieved a lot. So
Mm.
you can't have very vague information. One, two, people leadership plays a huge role. People don't realize it, but in a CXO role, people want to know how I'm leading people, what kind of talent pool am I going to lead, how I'm going to be interacting with these people, and who's going to be reporting to me. So what's the portfolio or the caliber of the people that's going to be reporting? I think that's become very important for people, because something that someone very recently said to me in an interview was, I can be just as strong as the team that I have. Numbers matter, shareholding matters. A lot of people are now looking into having some kind of ownership. CXO roles, when you're talking about CXO roles, they want to see what is the process of them becoming a part of the DNA of the company.
Mm.
So, is there a possibility for them becoming some kind of an owner in that framework? So that's also becoming very important to people, I think.
The Great Resignation, it has affected both those in the C level as well as those in mid management, and also those who are very fresh into the working force. When we've heard a lot about the Great Resignation and the
Mm.
candidate driven market, but there was an interesting piece from Conferry that discusses how this trend, this resignation, mass resignation trend, may stall due to the growing possibility of a recession. So, what would this mean, in your opinion, for recruiters?
That talent understands that this is coming, and they generally move a long time before the announcement is made, or during the announcement is being made. Most tech people are already finding spaces to be employed in, whether they are remote or contractual positions or permanent positions. It is the support roles that are ending up without positions, and that is going to be a problem, because there are industries that are doing well post COVID, and that did well during COVID. That included the health sciences and the technology industry, right? But there's only a certain extent to which these industries are hiring for support roles. So generally, what we're seeing is that there are people in sales maybe who are not probably going to change very easily, because if they are working for a stable company, they're going to still work for stable companies, because the big names are still making a lot of money. They're making 3 times more than their last year's same quarter. Okay. So, that's not changing for them. What is changing is that these new startups who do not now have access to seed funding, or because of these funding rounds are not happening right now because of the state of the economy and because of the Russian war and all of that. Um, um, that is the system that's failing.
Mm.
But the rest of the stable SAs, system aggregators, SIs, system integrators, the main technology platform providers, they are still stable and they're still growing, and they will continue growing, because digital economy is not shutting down. So I can tell you that when we're talking about technical recruitment, there's no stalling the great resignation. There's been no difference in the attitude of people. We are still pitching technical roles too. But there is a difference in the attitude of people who are in support roles working in these industries. They are thinking twice. And we've seen that at the last moment, these support roles, senior roles will not at the last moment say that, we're not going to change, because of the fact that they're scared that if they change or hop onto a new bus, they might be the first one to be laid off. So So that you have to remember. So the great resignation, again, for the technology industry, it's irrelevant.
Let's discuss how HR and talent development, in this sense, can become strategic in the midst of predicted economic turndown. What might be some ways that HR leaders can provide a strategic perspective? I think you just provided one earlier. So, what might be some ways that they can become more influential in terms of supporting the business
Mm.
through volatility in the economy?
Irrespective of you working in a support department, HR is generally, no matter how many times we say it's a strategic role. It should be a strategic role. It does well for the company if HR becomes a strategic role. Um, but HR decision makers can sometimes will be termed as support roles because they don't understand the business. So for the first thing for HR to do to create a mind shift is to really understand the business, then understand your customers your business is selling to, then understand the industry climate you're in, understand how your business has been for the past 5 years, how your competitors are doing business right now, what are the new workforce engagement and retention policies that are in place. Look at the best one and try to outbest them. That's the problem in technology industry. You can't be an average employer and retain people. You will experience people leaving your organization in a year's time tops. Every appraisal cycle, that person will leave if you have average employee engagement policies or employment management policies or talent management policies.
Employee engagement is really about people knowing their purpose in the company and knowing what their role is uh, actually and how they can contribute in that role. And in
Yes.
this, in the past 2 years, we've seen many companies uh, by force having to shift towards digitalization during the pandemic, right? And in essence, they have all in one way or another become digital businesses. So everyone who has known their role in one way or another has moved on to using digital tools, having to be faster and understanding efficiency differently. And these businesses are in need of tech talent. So what would you say are the top three challenges facing tech recruitment today, and how might a recruiter tackle them?
You have to become more aware of how to use social media. If you're working in the European region and the UK region, unfortunately, you have to really understand how GDPR works and come around to solutions. It has really impacted businesses. I can tell you, recruitment and technology recruitment was severely impacted to a certain extent during COVID because of the fact that we were not getting opportunities to network with people. And in these regions, if you were not networking with people one on one or in other way, there was no other way for you to get in touch with people unless that you're using LinkedIn and your all of your pipeline is using LinkedIn and they give you consent to get in touch with them. You otherwise can't approach people, right?
Mm.
So GDPR is an issue, and all technology headhunters or otherwise recruitment consultants, even if they are not in the technology business, must understand it and come up with ways of navigating that very difficult space. So identify
Mm.
communities. Now, what you can do is identify communities because there are a lot of recruitment communities that are still doing networking events. They're still doing online conferences, which you can become a part of, and that can give you access to the talent pool that you need, or you if you recognize what kind of technical talent pool you want to be a part of, identify those conferences, technology conferences, enroll for those conferences, and then have access to people to interact with during those conferences, right?
Mm.
So I think networking is something that you have to come up, various ways of doing it, understanding GDPR laws, doing networking, connecting with people, and then becoming more aware of what digital tools to use. See, and becoming comfortable with it. You have to become comfortable of sitting in front of um, the computer and talk to people and make engaging conversation. even though you feel like you're alone in the room. And I for one feel like I lift or my mindset or my attitude changes as I speak to someone and I bounce off their energy. But I can understand it doesn't really work that well when you're just sitting with the computer. But then with time you sort of start engaging with people, do a lot more conversations, just strike up conversations even with people you don't see an immediate need for business with. um so yeah, so these are three things I would definitely recommend. Understanding GDPR laws, how to go around them, becoming familiar with digital social media tools and platforms. And third is finding networking opportunities despite having some very difficult tenures where one-on-one networking wasn't possible.
Now, these are all ways to build your industrial knowledge of the space that you're working in. And we've spoken about those challenges, but they're also on the day-to-day life of a recruiter. There are plenty of tasks that need to be done. And there are a lot of automation tools out in the market, such as our solution in Manatal. So what kind of impact do you think these solutions or these technologies will have on recruitment on a day-to-day basis?
Huge. I think it's brilliant. The biggest problem people audiences have with recruiters is that we ghost people.
Ah,
Don't give them feedback.
okay.
And I think with automation tools like that's very much possible. You receive a profile, an automated email can be sent out. You review a profile, you don't find them up to it. You can click on a click of a button, that person can be informed about where he stands or she stands, right? I think automation is a huge positive step towards making recruitment a better regulated industry. And it's going to happen once sooner or later. You just need to become more. And it right now it's a very good time because you can customize these tools. Sometimes you can work with teams like Natal and and understand how they can fit into your processes, or customize your processes to fit such tools, so that at the end of the day your results are more exponential. I think you can reach out to more people. So it's just about getting used to understanding technology, not being scared of it. Befriend technology, don't let it get you scared. It's absolutely fine. Just become, you have to stay relevant. If you're working in the technology industry, even if you're in HR, you have to stay relevant. You have to adopt and adapt.
Yep, absolutely. And all these experiences that you've had in the past 15 years, I think, have informed how how you think about why technology is important for recruiters.
And
Having seen perhaps what it's like to manually do things, to moving
absolutely.
into making sure that you are getting the right talent at the right time, and keeping them in the role and keeping them thriving in those roles. So your experience in recruitment and in the talent space has been vast, and also as I said earlier, a good story of growth. What advice would you give someone who is starting out in recruitment today?
Learn to make conversations and be a good listener. Take out time to make connections. I think in recruitment, you have to make connections, stay relevant. You can't connect with someone, a candidate, a good candidate, if it was a good candidate, place them in one place or maybe not place them, and then forget about them, because um, you're not going to go a long way. So you have to learn to build your relationships, be open to communicating, engaging, remembering, and interacting with people. So make your communication and relationships count. Relationship is everything in recruitment, a lot like sales. Relationship is everything. You can have access to the best data banks in the world, but the best data bank is having a good relationship with candidates within the industry you recruit for, and their recommendations. Usually, when I get a recommendation from my network, it is the easiest placement I make,
Hmm.
or the quickest placement I make, because it's tested, tried, um, uh, 100% accurate information. As an HR person, I can't code, but I can ask a person who's an excellent architect to give me a few recommendations about people he's worked with who are great coders, who he's worked with are programmers. And I know when he's giving me that reference, they are definitely going to be worth it. And genuinely they are. So communication, relationship, remembering people, don't ghost people. This is something I constantly tell people: don't ghost your candidates. It doesn't help.
Because this is a people business at the end of the day. It
It
never
is.
stops
It is.
being a people business, right?
When was the last time maybe a salesperson ghosted one of the potential clients or ex clients? No one.
So thank you very much, Maheen, for your time today, speaking to us all the way from London. It's a great pleasure having you on the show. I'm sure the audience wants to know how to look for you and to know more about you and your company. Where can they find you?
We're very active on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
You can definitely find me and Mushawar both on LinkedIn. Whether you're in South Asia, Middle East, or UK, Europe. So Mushawar UK works with European markets, North American markets, but Mushawar Pakistan works with the Middle East and South Asian markets, and can definitely get in touch with you. We also have a website, www.mushawar.co.uk, or mushawar.org. So you can get in touch there as well. Leave your profiles. We work with consultant contractors as well. So if you're someone who's looking for a contractual placement, just drop in your day rates, your availability, and we'll be in touch, because we're constantly working with technology companies. We're looking for consultant contractors as well. So yeah, more than happy to be in touch with anyone who wants to get in touch.
Thank you very much, Maheen. And we have been speaking with Maheen Noor Sooomro, who is the Director, Talent Acquisition, HR, and Employment Solutions at Mushawar UK. Do look out for future podcasts from All in Recruitment and stay tuned for our next videos. And don't forget to like, leave a comment, and share this video.